I began to get quiet first. And so I began to get silenced and I stopped talking. I began to withdraw, and that's not me at all.
Over the last few months, Darnisha Weary of Edmonds started noticing a shift in her personality. Even as she seemed busy and driven, protesting for racial justice, opening up a new business, a coffee shop, she realized she was living a muted version of herself. She was suffering from racism.
I was experiencing some serious racism, overt racism in the workplace. I received some pretty nasty emails with monkeys in them. I was called some pretty nasty names.
Weary worked at a white nonprofit where racist emails intensified. It was too much to bear.
I ended up having a cardiac episode and had to be rushed to the hospital. They thought I was having a heart attack. I went through all these tests, right? And then it came down to it was stress related. It was stress caused. It was caused by stress. And I didn't realize that this pandemic and this racial uprising was affecting me in such a way.
What Darnisha Weary is talking about is racial trauma. It's even got a scientific name, race-based traumatic stress, RBTS. According to Mental Health America, it's a mental and emotional injury caused by encounters with racial bias, ethnic discrimination, racism, and hate crimes.
It's unique in the fact that with racial trauma, it's constantly happening, it's ongoing, whereas with PTSD, typically it's a singular event.
Ashley McGirt is a mental health therapist who specializes in racial trauma, a concept scientists have studied for more than 20 years, but is now gaining more attention.
We know that it exists by the way that Black and brown bodies respond. Currently, Black and brown bodies are experiencing chronic stress-related illnesses at disproportionate rates. We are dying at disproportionate rates, and we can attribute that a lot to racism because, we have more strokes, high blood pressure, chronic heart failure, a lot of these things that are attributed to stress.
Experts say RBTS can be traced down through generations. Darnisha Weary has seen that herself.
I think as Black women, I grew up watching my mom and my grandmother and all the women in my family work so hard to never say no. I need this. I saw them put others before themselves all the time.
If you think back to when Black people were enslaved, Black women were taking care of the slave master's children, breastfeeding them. They were doing all sorts of things to take care of the whole community. Can you imagine how significant of an amount of stress that can be?
Psychologist Dr. Katrina Sanford of Seattle says one of the keys to coping with racial trauma is understanding your ancestral connection.
If you don't know where your people come from, and that's one of the things that's a part of health, is being able to know yourself. And when you know yourself and you know you're the bomb and you know you're amazing, regardless of what society tells you, then that helps your health outcomes improve. It helps you physically be more healthy, it helps you mentally be more healthy, and it helps you spiritually be more healthy.
Dr. Sanford founded the healing center Niles Edge to do just that, a spiritual, now virtual space to help people connect to themselves, using therapies such as breathing exercises, sound and talk therapy, and meditation.
Niles Edge is trying to ensure that our people can now understand who they are, how their ancestors healed, and figure out ways to heal themselves so that we can continue to live in this society that oppresses us, but so that not just live in it, thrive and find joy in who we are, even though things are really difficult.
Remember how Darnisha opened up a new business? It wasn't just a financial venture, but part of a healing process that included therapy and a cup of black coffee.
We kept looking for a space and a place to just be with our Black community in an area where there's it's pretty much white all around, and we could never find a place.
Since Darnisha and her husband couldn't find it, they created it.
Being a Black person here, in Black coffee, I'm allowed to be unapologetically Black. I don't have to code switch. I don't have to worry about if I'm too loud. I speak with my hands. I don't have to worry about controlling that or controlling my facial figures. And these are things that I know that I have done throughout my life, in the workplace, in my community, just to be safe, because I live in an all-white space.
So how can we as a society find solutions for people suffering from racial trauma? Mental health experts say it begins with acknowledging this trauma exists and then finding empathy.
I want our businesses to understand that if someone needs a mental health break, that's okay. That the environment, not just in businesses, but in our society as a whole, allows for people to take that time that they need. Because you can't have someone at your job be able to do their job well and be productive if they're unhealthy, if they're unhappy, and if their mental health is struggling. And so that's where I hope we go, where we become more empathic about the physical and mental things that people are going through and allow them the space to heal and support them as they're doing it.
Sounds like a challenge to the companies to actually pay attention to mental health.
Absolutely.
Back to Darnisha's coffee shop, the safe space she's created. She hopes all people of color realize it's normal to struggle. But in order to heal, you've got to focus on caring for yourself.
The joy that I can't even explain. I've learned I have balance in my life right now, and things are not always perfect, but I know how to say no. I learned how to set boundaries. I take care of myself. I put it in my calendar to turn things off or to take a walk or to do something for myself. And so it's just so important for Black women, because we're carrying so much every single day. We're carrying so many things we don't even realize we're carrying.